Hi, welcome to Astro Babble. I am Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Libra, which also happens to be an eclipse, an
So,
annular eclipse. Yeah, the moon mansion, this falls in a new one. I don't remember ever having the moon in this since we've been doing this. It's the 15th moon mansion. It has the flavor of Mercury and Mars, which is good, always good for business, those two when they're together. And in Christopher Warnock's book, The Moon Mansions, he has it listed, it's good for veiling, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but realization of things that you deserve and or desire and wishes, hidden splendors, and good for business. So he did have it as marked as good for business as well. And I think we do have a day that's going to be good for business in this 2-week period.
Donna and I have done a video all about solar eclipses, and we'll put a link to that in this description. Solar eclipse is a new moon when the nodes are within 18 degrees for, like, your partial eclipse. I can't remember I think to be a total eclipse, it's got to be within about 9 degrees of the nodes and the sun and moon. But eclipses happen about every 6 months. We always have a solar eclipse with a lunar eclipse. Sometimes we will get 3 or even 4 in a row. But with solar eclipses, what's really interesting about them is that they're part of what we call Saros series. And a Saros series goes for about 1,300 years. And the really interesting thing is they happen every 18 years in the same family. So sometimes if you look back 18 years prior, there's a kind of a continuation of a story or a similarity in events happening. So for this one, if you go back to 2006, 1988, 1970, 1952, 1934, or 1916, there may be events happening that kind of correlate with events happening now. And Bernadette does have a look at the original eclipse in that Saros series, and from that she kind of gives an overview of what the eclipse will be like. And Donna's going to tell us all about this one.
It has a lot to do with separation and loss, and to be parted, to finish something, and to feel sad at its completion. Physical injury is also possible through overstraining one's strength. This is not the time to undertake strenuous physical activities, is what she says in her book, Predictive Astrology, The Eagle and the Lark. So definitely has some warnings here.
So this solar eclipse is going to be at 10 degrees of Libra, and it's very close to Mercury at the time. I think, what day does the Cazimi happen when Mercury and the Sun are together? Is that 2 days prior?
That's September 30th. Have that date marked on my calendar. It's good for mercurial type of things.
The only problem with this Mercury being so close to this solar eclipse is, well, actually, that's an interesting concept, because the sun is going to be partially eclipsed. And like when a planet is so close to the sun, we say that it can't be seen because, the sun's too bright. So, wonder if that will help Mercury at this time. And it was Mercury and Mars that you said the moon mansion was associated with, didn't you?
It is.
Interesting.
This picture that's showing up on the screen right now, it very much highlighting that this new moon is square Mars. So keep that with your thoughts. Mars, it is one of the malefic planets. Saturn is the other one. This is also the planet that's going to be going retrograde later on. And picture that's showing up on the screen right now, it's very much going to be squaring it. Pretty much. It's a wide orb. It's like 5 degrees, so but it's still there. And Mars is in charge of drive as well as bravery, as well as, separation and loss. So keep those in mind. That's kind of the nature of Mars. So that's kind of going to be a flavor into all of these horoscopes, in my opinion.
as Donna was saying, that Mars, both Moon, Sun, and Mercury are all going to come up and square that Mars. And Mars goes into its retrograde shadow period on, yes, the 5th of October. It's going to station retrograde at 6 Leo, but it's going to go all the way back to 17 degrees Cancer. So it's only, a few days away from going into its shadow period, which is really interesting. Eclipses are like a full moon or a new moon kind of on steroids. New moons tend to be about new beginnings, new starts, planting seeds and that, and full moons tend to be about culmination and all that. But when it's an eclipse, particularly if it is hitting an area of your chart, if it's, one of your planets is being squared, opposed, or is conjunct eclipse degree, it might be quite significant. With the sextiles and trines, quite possible as well. Maybe not as impactful though. But yeah, as Donna said, it's a malefic. It's in a sign of its fall, so it's not a very strong Mars, and it's just about to go into its retrograde shadow period. So it could be interesting, might be really interesting to pay attention to what's happening at this time, because events don't always happen right at the time of the eclipse. It's not like, oh, well, here's the eclipse date, 2nd of October and nothing happened. Sometimes it can take, it's something that happens over that 6-month period sort of thing. Really interesting. And as Donna was saying at the Moon Mansion, it's very much the flavor of Mercury and Mars. It was interesting too when Donna read the outline that Bernadette Brady gave about the Saros separation and loss, which are kind of Martian themes. And we have Mercury so close to this solar eclipse. It will be very interesting. Venus, which is the ruler of this solar eclipse, because it's in Libra and Libra is ruled by Venus, is in Scorpio at the time, which it's a sign of its detriment, but it's also in the sign next to Libra. So it's like in its blind spot. It's like these planets are in its house, but it's not aware of it. Kind of can't see it. So that's a shame. Squared by Mars.
That is.
Jupiter can see it though, so that's good. Uranus and Saturn and Neptune are also in aversion, so they're in the blind spot. And Pluto is squared as well. Interesting. And then if you can see the chart on the screen, we have Venus coming up very soon to trine Saturn and then Mars. So they've got a grand trine going on at the same time, or very close to. It'll be happening over the following 2 weeks. But this eclipse is more likely to affect you if you have planets around about 10 degrees of the cardinal sign. So that's Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn. And if you want to know specifically, well, we'll be going through the horoscopes anyway, but if you want to go back and have a look later, Donna and I did horoscopes for the year for all the signs. So if you know your ascendant sign, you can go look at that and see what was said, because we did include eclipse information in those videos as well. But we recommend you read or listen to your ascendant sign horoscope rather than your sun or your moon. And if you don't understand why that is, we've done a video about that as well, and we'll put a link to that in the description.
And so if you are a Libra, yeah, that's just going to, we see the South Node in your first house. This is the first house, is all about you. This will be new things that you're beginning, but there might be a little bit of loss with that South Node right there. So just be aware of that. But this will be new things that you're beginning. You'll probably find that it comes to fruition in about 6 months from now.
And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your second house. The second house is the house of our income and finances, our personal income and finances, and our resources. So maybe there's some big, perhaps even surprising turn of events to do with how you earn your money, how you support yourself, what resources you use to support yourself. So, more impactful if you do have planets round about 10 degrees of the cardinal signs. That's Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn. But for many, yeah, events, new beginnings, new starts to do with your personal finances and resources.
And if you are a Leo rising, this new moon and eclipse is going to be happening in your third house. And eclipses, as Linda and I always say, they eclipses bring things in or they take things out of your life. So can you be watching out for that? You might be up for a new car. This is, the third house is about our close travel. The travel. Like if I were to say, go get coffee, you know exactly where you need to go. This is that type of area. So it's your close travel. It's your family and your early education. So these will be things that are starting new around those themes. If you are starting or thinking about having a family reunion or getting your holiday guest lists and up and ready, this could be something that you're going to be facing in about 6 months.
And if you are a Cancer ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your fourth house. Fourth house is our home and family. So most particularly when it comes to family, it relates to our parents. It could be that this is something that's happening to your parents rather than you, or it might have something to do with the home. Maybe you've got a new person moving into the household, or maybe you're moving to a new place. Real estate matters are often a fourth house matter as well. So new beginnings, new starts, and for some it may be a bit of a surprise element to do with these matters.
And if you are a Gemini rising, this new moon is an eclipse will be happening in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of fun. It's the house of the kind of things that we do for fun, like going to concerts, going to baseball, football games, those types of things. It's also the things that you create, like children or art or any kind of like a hobby that you might, partake in. This is be careful. This is, this, even though it's a new moon, which is nice, and it kind of gives you that new feeling of, fresh feeling of something new is starting. It does have that square to Mars, so something might be separating in that house is around those subjects as well. And that Pluto Uranus trine,
Mm.
is also very prominent in all of these uh aspects. So something could be changing or coming at you that is a little out of the ordinary. You can change up your art.
And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your sixth house. Sixth house is service to others. It is something often associated with people who work for the good of society. So that can be doctors, nurses, first responders. This is also the house of pets. It is the house of employees. So that can be a literal employee. It can be people that you supervise at work. It could be somebody that's coming in just to do short-term work. So say you have a tradesperson doing something for you around the house. It can also be illness. So this is the seeds of new beginnings, new starts. And for some, there may be a surprise element to this. With Mercury so close to this solar eclipse, and it's beyond the cazimi. So Mercury is actually combust here. There may be a little bit of confusion. I'm trying to think later. There is some Mercury aspects. There's Mercury and Jupiter. There's going to be Mercury and Mars too. 15, that's going to be a square. Yeah, that Mercury is just not strong. So maybe information, correspondence. It's just not a strong Mercury. So I wouldn't say, well, actually, because leading up to this, from the lunar eclipse, we had Mercury being battered around. It was, making aspects to Uranus and Neptune and all the rest of it. And as Donna and I record this right now, I believe we have Mercury opposite Neptune, and we're having a little bit of trouble with internet connectivity. But Yeah. I just wonder, maybe in the previous 2 weeks there was some information that came out like around about the time of the Mercury opposing Neptune, which would be around about the 25th, 26th of September. And maybe something comes to light at this time. You know, it's been hidden and then it's revealed again. I'm not sure what to make of that, but yeah, new beginnings, new starts, new seeds to do with service to others, employees, pets, and maybe illness.
And if you are an Aries rising, this new moon is going to be happening, and eclipse will be happening in your seventh house. And the seventh house, the house of the one other. Any kind of committed relationships you might have, this is where that's where this eclipse energy will show up on for you. This is going to be in, so committed relationships are a business partner, a romantic partner, even a doctor or a lawyer. If somebody is writing your name down to meet with you, that's a committed relationship. So this will be have something to do with those types of themes that could happen around those committed relationships. Things might be coming in or out of your life around those themes.
And if you're a Pisces ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your eighth house. The eighth house is shared finances and resources. It's other people's money. So it can include the partner's finances. There may be new starts, new beginnings, new seeds being planted there. It's things like debts and loans, taxes and insurances. You know, maybe you've applied for a loan and didn't think you had any chance of being accepted, and maybe you are. Maybe there's an inheritance that you just found out that you've been bequeathed something in a will, you know, or it could be going into some sort of financial agreement, you know, pooling funds with a partner, whether that's a business or a romantic partner, or it could be a taxation or insurance matter, something similar to that. Eighth house is also the house of anxiety and worry as well. So hopefully it's not that. This is a south node eclipse though, so sometimes that can be a little bit more concerning than a north node. But yeah, generally speaking, we usually see this show up as other people's money, joint finances and resources.
And if you are an Aquarius rising, the new moon will be happening in your ninth house. And the ninth house is your higher education. It's the philosophy, and it's also law and publishing as well as foreigners. So this will be things that are coming in and out of your life that have to do with higher education, the occult astrology subjects, philosophy, religion, law, and publishing. Things might be coming in. So it's a great time to get a new book if you are an Aquarius rising.
And if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career and public reputation. There could be new starts, new beginnings. I'm a Capricorn ascendant, and it won't be till after the solar eclipse, but I'm starting a new position at work. And the previous lunar eclipse we had was in Pisces, which is my third house. And that was a short course that I did. So after 6 months, I finished that course and got the certificate within that time. So you can see how these things can kind of work, but it tends to more often happen when it is making impact with natal planets and or chart positions like your ascendant or your MC or your descendant, etc. So this could be a new job, a new position. It could be a new boss because it is the house of authority figures as well. It could also be public reputation. So what you're known for. This may be you're starting something that may bring you some sort of acclaim or reward or recognition further down the track. It may be something surprising. Maybe you didn't intend to do this. It kind of came a little bit out of the blue, and yeah, so it could be quite interesting. And with all of these, this is I believe, the last of our Libra eclipses in this Libra Aries series of eclipses. We still have an Aries eclipse in March, but we're finishing up that lot of eclipses. We're moving into the Pisces Virgo very soon. And as I said, we had that first of the Pisces ones 2 weeks ago with the lunar eclipse.
And if you are a Sagittarius rising, this new moon will be happening in your 11th house. And the 11th house is one of those nice houses. It has the house of your friends, the people that you associate with, your groups that you associate with, as well as your hopes and dreams. So this will be something that will be coming in or out of your life because it's an eclipse. That's why I'm saying out. Because eclipses tend to bring things in or out of your life to make room for other things. So this would be a new moon or new beginnings that start with friends, associations, and your hopes and dreams, if you are setting.
And if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this new moon solar eclipse is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of secret and hidden matters. It's also the house of our undoing. And when we talk about our undoing, it can be things like addictions or self-defeating habits. It's places of confinement, such as prisons and hospitals, and also places of exile or seclusion. So that can be, retreats. It could be, whether that's a monastery or a spiritual retreat, and it's also just working behind the scenes. So yeah, new beginnings may have a shocking element to it. Just looking at that, with that Mars in the ninth, for some people, I wouldn't be pushing my luck with the law. Mm.
Oh, good thing to say that.
But I mean, it all depends on your chart and that as well. Like, for example, when we're talking about exile, one of the things, exile is not only being banished, but it's also being far away from home. And, for example, like if you became a police officer, which is the law, you may need to go away to an academy for a while to study and do all that. You're kind of, away. Or if you're a soldier or something, you may need to go away for basic training and all that sort of thing. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm going to go to jail. For some, it could be entering hospital for whatever reason. It could be, for some, this may be a time, because it is a South Node eclipse, maybe you enter a rehab or something at this time. Yeah. And it will depend too on how it's impacting your individual chart. But behind the scenes matters. It could be with that ninth house of publishing, like going back to that Mars again, maybe you write crime fiction and you're, squirreling yourself away in a cabin in the woods to write all about it. It's amazing, people tell you things and you're like, oh my goodness, that's so descriptive of it. And all you want to do is go and have a look at their chart to see, what the symbolism is there. And you go, oh my, and they just go, yeah, okay. Like you're a crazy person. Anyway, I digress.
Absolutely. Absolutely about that. I think I know somebody who might need to listen to this. Seriously. Your description was very good. And the stone I have is Unakite. And this is a green and orangey type of stone. The green is epidote and the orange is feldspar and quartz. So those are the stones that are in it. It has a Mohs hardness of 6, so it makes it a great piece for it's a great medium to do carving on it. And it'll I've had this for years and it's been pretty good shape. So, and before I actually had little boxes for everything, I threw them all into a dish that, and so this has been around for a long time. So this is a great stone for, um, it does have a lot to do with, Scorpio. It's the sign that it kind of belongs with. It is the fourth chakra and it helps and supports pregnancy, weight gain.
Yeah.
So, kind of be careful with this one if you have that issue, which I do. So that's why it's in a box. And it is good for pregnancy and the developing fetus. So this is what I use for pregnant women.
Nice.
And my Libra daughter, who is pregnant, I use this with her.
Nice.
So that is Unakite. And it's a pretty common stone. It's found pretty commonly everywhere. Anywhere where epidote and feldspar are going to be found, is you will also find Unakite.
Very nice. Okay, we're going to look at the aspects.
The first aspect, we have Venus trine retrograde Saturn, and this is a somber type of aspect. It's good. And usually when Saturn is not in retrograde, this would be a good, solid, Venusian type of aspect to happen. You want to have it will be more serious, but it's like Lynda says, it's stable love. That's what it's that stable love. But the stability might not necessarily be there with the retrograde Saturn.
Yeah. Yeah, I often compare like Venus Saturn as like a comfortable slipper. It's reliable and stable, but it might be a little bit boring as opposed to, your stiletto, your Venus Pluto or your Venus Uranus. But yeah, it's a shame that Saturn is retrograde at this time. And Venus isn't in strong position either. She is in the superior position. She's earlier in zodiacal order, so she gets to call the shots, but she is in a sign of her detriment. She's in the sign of Mars. Interesting, Mars has just recently had a trine to retrograde Saturn. He's moved on at this time. Venus is coming up to trine Saturn now, and then she's going to trine Mars. So it should be interesting. But yeah, maybe we're feeling those obligations and that perhaps long-term, reliable, stable, loving relationship might just seem to need like a little bit of a zip. Maybe we're kind of feeling a bit confined and bored with the everyday realities of, a committed relationship. And that doesn't even have to be romantic relationships. That's, friendships, that's family, But yeah, I mean, me and Saturn don't get along that well. But I do usually like the Venus trines or sextiles to Saturn. It just kind of gives it a bit of stability.
Yeah, the aspects seem to have to do with Mercury and Venus. But this particular aspect has a lot to do with that moon mansion that I was talking about earlier. Mercury will be squaring Mars, and neither one of them are retrograde, so they're acting pretty normal for those particular planets. This is a good aspect for a debate, if we could get a debate going. This will happen October 6th. Lynda and I are recording this on September 26th, though. We're a little ahead of time. We're going to have I heard that there was a vice president debate coming up. Not quite sure when, but this would be a good day for a debate. But you could find that you're a little irritable. This is, anytime Mars is in there with a hard aspect like a square or an opposition, it kind of lends itself to easily being or having an accident. So you want to make sure that you're particularly careful in how you get around and making sure that you are safe. To take chances with driving for sure.
As Donna said, Mercury Mars is the flavor of this moon mansion. That Mars, it's in 4 in Cancer, so it's not strong, but it is in a superior position because it's earlier in zodiacal order, so it has more sway in this. Mars is at the degree that it's going to retrograde back to. I don't know about the actual minutes, but it's in this actual degree. So I pay close attention to any arguments you might have at this time, because Mercury square Mars, I just think fighting words. And, that Mercury's in Libra. It wants to make sure that everybody's at least pretending to be nice. and that Mars is very emotionally driven, So words that are said at this time, maybe fights or any sort of kind of, whether it's written or verbal or even something to do with like cars, because Mercury and cars, like Donna was saying, you need to watch out for you're not harming yourself in a motor accident or something like that. But also, maybe being aware of fingers with Mercury and that. Maybe that's something that's going to have to be readdressed when Mercury is retrograde, because Mercury is going to, not Mercury, when Mars is retrograde, because Mars is going to go forward all the way into Leo, but it will come back to this degree. It's just really interesting that this Mercury is squaring Mars at this time when, Mars has just entered that shadow period. So, and I mean, that Mercury is also combusts the sun, which is interesting. That Mercury may have maybe some hidden things under, things not really seen, because Mercury can't be seen at this time. It's too close to the sun. So there may be secret and hidden things or machinations going on.
The next aspect we'll be talking about, it will be Venus will trine Mars. And this is, you have a lot of drive. If you are working on a creative project, this would be a good time to be able to access that drive to really work on something for a very long time. Mars gives you that drive and that energy. But when they are, Mars and Venus in a trine, it offers a little bit of balance in relationships. So, not one person is more powerful than other one usually. I know you had just said that for this one, Mars is going to be
in the superior
earlier in zodiacal release. Yeah. So early in zodiacal order, stronger, but it's still a little bit, you get a little bit more of an even relationship, when you are engaging in something. It's going to be a little bit more even. It's not going to be one-sided or the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Venus is in Mars's sign, so Mars is going to receive her. I mean, he's going to receive her anyway, but he's receiving her in his own sign. So he's going to feel like some sort of obligation to kind of help her out. So that's nice. She's in the sign of detriment. Mars, is in the sign of his fall. They've both had trines to retrograde Saturn, who might have been a bit, the word that comes to my mind is a little bit boring. I see Venus and Mars making a trine, and I mean, Venus is in Scorpio, Mars is in Cancer. I just think, nice, sexy time. So I think, Uranus isn't making any contact, but I just think this could be, bit of fun, bit of flirting, just nice.
And the next aspect will be Mercury will trine Jupiter. And when this happens, this is that aspect I was talking about earlier for the mansion. This is be a good day for business. This is, a trine is a positive aspect, and Mercury has a lot to do with business, and Jupiter is a benefic. So it's just like literally a sentence that you just read across the page. It's good for positive thinking. It's really good for studying those upper subjects like the law or publishing or philosophy or religion. This would be a good time to pick up a book or start a course for, something that along those lines.
Mercury and Jupiter are kind of opposites. Mercury is about drilling down into the minutiae. Jupiter is big picture orientated, and Jupiter is benefic. It's enthusiastic, optimistic, generous, interested in wisdom and knowledge and philosophy and all that sort of thing. It is getting ready to station retrograde though, and Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So we say that it is in detriment in this sign. So Jupiter's not as strong as he could be. He is in the superior position, but he's very slow at this time because he's getting ready to retrograde. He's kind of slowing down, getting ready to appear to stop and retrograde. He doesn't really stop and retrograde, but that's what it looks like to us from our perspective on Earth. I wonder, like Jupiter can often be like a benefactor, or some sort of fortunate person or event kind of happens. I wonder if some of us will be like, oh, there's this sudden opportunity, fantastic, and then maybe for whatever reason that's kind of taken away, not through anything that you've done necessarily, but maybe that person can't fulfill those promises. There's that optimism, and that it is a trine, so hopefully it's not a negative one. But the fact that Jupiter is about to retrograde, it's so slow, it's in a sign of its detriment. I just think there may be a need to go back and review, for whatever reason. Jupiter's going to change direction. Mercury's going to keep going forward. Jupiter's going to go backwards. So again, could be a good time to journal, see what's happening at that time, and maybe not be that surprised if you need to kind of adapt or some sort of reassessment of whatever, plans or ideas or things were happening that you were anticipating and that you were excited about. Those new ideas and plans and thoughts and all that may need to go on the back burner for a while for whatever reason, I think.
And as you were alluding to earlier, Jupiter will be stationing retrograde. And when a planet stations retrograde, as Lynda was saying earlier, it doesn't really go backwards. It just appears that it's going backwards because it's farthest away from us. So that's how our retrogrades appear and how they look, and that's actually their motion that they do. It's still, they're still going forward, but we just don't see it from our vantage point. So when a planet goes retrograde from our vantage point, it tends to not work as well as it normally. Jupiter is a generous planet. It's a benefic planet, but it might not be as generous, and it might not be as broad thinking. But those are about the things that Jupiter will exhibit when it's in a retrograde period. And it's retrograding on October 9th, and it's going to retrograde all the way. It's going to be retrograde until February 4th at 11 degrees 16 minutes. So that's where it's going to retrograde to. So if you have anything in Gemini from 21 to 10 degrees, that's where it's going to be hitting you the most if you have any planets there.
As we're saying, Jupiter's enthusiasm and generosity and big picture ideas, when it's retrograde, it can seem like, maybe kind of like the wind's kind of taken out of your sails a little bit. You're all excited to had some big plans, and you may need to reassess them. You may need to cool your heels for a little while. Maybe somebody that you were counting on to assist you with something isn't able to at this time. It's quite often, having to change plans or do something like that is beneficial for you in the long run. But yeah, it's changing direction. It's going to be retrograde for 4 months. It's retrograde for 4 months every year. This is just that part of its cycle.
Okay, and the next aspect we're going to be talking about will be Pluto will station direct. It has been trying to get out of Capricorn for good. It's stationing direct in Capricorn. These last few degrees will be or last few minutes that it's in Capricorn will be the last time it is in Capricorn for another 240 years. So that's it's been a long it will be a very, very long time that we see Pluto in this sign. In fact, it won't happen in our lives again. So if you enjoyed Pluto in Capricorn and liked the transformations, it's coming to an end with that because Pluto will be moving into a new sign as it's going forward. It has been going back and forth for about what, 3 years now?
Yeah,
So
a couple of years,
when
yeah.
Pluto leaves Capricorn, it will be the last time. So, and when Pluto is stationing direct, it's trying to finish up whatever it was trying to transform in your life. It's trying to get you on board with this is how the new marching orders basically are going to be. And Pluto is that very intense planet, so you might experience some very intense, feelings or themes around that subject.
So 19th of November, it will move back into Aquarius. And like Donna said, it will be done with Capricorn for another 240 something years. So that's very good if you've had it aspecting planets in the late degrees of the cardinal signs. So that's Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or Libra. Pluto's retrograde for 6 months of the year or so. The outer planets are retrograde almost as often as they are direct. And, it's part of the reason why they're so slow. I mean, they're so slow because they're so far away from us as well, but they're retrograde for a lot of the time. So it's like, can feel very 2 steps forward, 1 step back a lot of the time. If you have planets at the very late degrees of the cardinal signs, it's probably going to be more impactful, unless the outers are making contacts with natal planets or natal chart placements like your ascendant or your MC, you possibly aren't going to really recognize it as much. But, it's a long time. And I mean, I think it was 14 years or something in Capricorn altogether, 14 or 16 years. I can't remember exactly. And I think it's going to be a good 20 years in Aquarius. So, but yeah, it's finishing up its cycle in Capricorn. So people and topics associated with Capricorn in your natal chart may be going through just tidying up any transformation perhaps in that area of your chart.
And the next aspect will be Mercury will square Pluto. And this is, I think, a pretty intense aspect. Well, anytime Pluto is in the mix, it does lend itself to be more intense than it normally would. But this is a good time to be studying psychology or any of those deep subjects. This is also a time where you could be talked into something, or you might meet people with power struggles who are verbally trying to get you to change your mind. So be careful of that if you are, if you don't want to be in a place where you don't want your mind being changed. This is, you want to be on guard for that. Don't let people talk you into stuff that you don't want to be doing.
Yeah, that manipulation is a really good call. And I mean, with Mercury, it is at the very last degree of Libra, but I mean, Mercury can be a little bit of a people pleaser sometimes. They don't want to offend anybody or upset anybody, and they may be a little bit reluctant to kind of, be a bit more assertive. It's interesting because, I think the same day it's going to go into Scorpio where it's a little bit more assertive. Great
Yes.
time for unearthing secrets. And, this will still be applicable when it goes into that Scorpio. Will be very applicable. Yeah. unearthing secrets, transformative thinking. Yeah, it could be mind games too. So as Donna said, watch out for people trying to manipulate you. Don't get paranoid. And I mean, you know, Mercury going into Scorpio, you could spiral a little bit into that too. But yeah, it's just be aware. The good thing though is that Pluto is very, very slow because it's so far out. It has just station direct, so it's even slower than normal. And Mercury, how fast is Mercury? Mercury's moving pretty fast. So this aspect isn't going to be in effect for that long. You know, Mercury is just zooming straight past. So at least it's not being drawn out for, you know, a week or so. So yeah, just, you know, people trying to mess with your head, just, you know, maybe just try and put them off and yeah, I got to think about it and just scram.
Good strategy. And then speaking of intensity, when Mercury goes into Scorpio, it's going to have a little bit of that Plutonian things, as Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. Lynda and I did this Hellenistic astrology, which only usually keeps our minds to the traditional planets. And Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are those outer ones that we don't see, but we do. They're there. But anyways, but when Mercury goes into Scorpio, you're going to have those deep conversations. This is also a good time to do that investigative, anything that you wanted to really investigate. This is a great time. You're going to have that universal support to do that. You're going to have Venus in there to help you, which is not a lot of help as she's in her detriment. She's in her detriment there. But, you know, she is still a benefic. So, but when Mercury goes into Scorpio, you're going to have those deep conversations, that investigative. You're going to want to go deep into whatever the subject is.
So Scorpio is ruled by Mars traditionally, and Mars is in Cancer, a sign of its fall, but it can see Scorpio by trine. So that's helpful. The ruler of the house of Scorpio, which is Mars, can see the house. So it's like somebody who he owns the house of Scorpio. Mercury and Venus are both in there at the moment. They're kind of, you know, on holiday there. But he's aware of it and he can help them. You know, they can ring him and say, hey, you know, where's the fire extinguisher? Or, you know, where's the fire blanket and all this sort of stuff. So that is helpful. You know, if planets can see their rulers, it's helpful. Or the ruler of the sign that they're in, it's helpful. Yeah. As Donna said, in modern astrology, Pluto is considered the ruler of Scorpio. What's interesting is this that Mercury has just had that square to Pluto, so it's just come out of very Plutonian flavored aspect, and then it moves into Scorpio as well. So yeah, things might be a little bit intense, and I think this is a great time to be doing some detective work, you know, exposing secrets. But yeah, again, you still might want to watch people trying to manipulate you, or power plays, or, you know, deception. But, you know, positively, this could be some sort of transformative thinking, perhaps.
Next aspect, this is a really, really, really nice one. Circle this date on your calendar, October 13th. It's a Sunday. This is a great time when the sun will trine retrograde Jupiter. Now, yeah, it just turned retrograde just a couple of days ago. This aspect, it lends itself to opportunities. It gives you the sun it helps you with that vitality. And Jupiter is still a benefic, even though he's retrograde. But this is a time where you want to go out and seek opportunities. This is a time where you might have things land in your lap and you have no earthly idea why you got this. This would be a very opportunistic day. So full of opportunities. So keep that in mind. I'd go out and enjoy it, do something new, just get that exposure, just get out and do something that you might be exposed to opportunities that you aren't normally exposed to. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think with
Yeah.
Jupiter being retrograde, I think, yes, it could be opportunities. I would think you may need to kind of carry them yourself a little bit more rather than rely on people, though. With Jupiter being retrograde, there can be that benefactors and that, but they're not in a position perhaps to help you as much as they normally would. So, yep, be on the lookout for opportunities and all that, but maybe be prepared to kind of shoulder more than your fair share. I mean, it's something to benefit you, but I wouldn't be, it's not just, you're not going to win lotto if you don't go out and buy a ticket, for example. You've kind of got to put in some work. If you want to find a great partner, you're not going to find them, if you stay home every night and never leave the house apart from work. What, you could meet them at work, I suppose, but you get what I'm saying. There may be more of a need for you to do something to generate that benefic quality. Sun's in Libra at this time, which is a sign of its fall. So, but look, just because the planet's in fall or detriment doesn't mean that it can't work. It just works differently to how it's expected to work, and I mean, Libra is a sign of, the other. It's ruled by Venus. It wants to kind of have that harmony and cooperation and build those relationships with others. So, it can be a little bit hard for them to not rely on somebody else to kind of, they like that assistance and that, like if this sun was in Aries or Scorpio or something, it might be a little bit more easier for it to be a little bit more independent like that. But yeah, maybe just, I'm all over the place today. That Jupiter just may not be as beneficial as you were hoping. You may need to kind of actually do a lot of the heavy lifting yourself.
I like that you said heavy lifting with Jupiter in Gemini has the arms. Anyway, the next aspect we're going to be talking about will be the sun will square Mars. And oh boy, this is watch your ego. This is a time where you can have a really big, like, I'm all, that we need, that you could be, that would be a danger to have that mindset. Um, but when Mars and the sun are square, it's uh squares are always conflicts, and conflicts can, when Mars is in a conflict with the sun, Mars is in a conflict with your vitality. Mars is also could be in conflict with the leadership, and the leadership could be anywhere, anybody from your boss to teachers to the authority figures. So be careful around negotiating with authority figures.
Yeah, it's interesting that both the sun and Mars are in the signs of their fall at this time. So, that's interesting. Mars is in the superior position, so he gets to call the shots a little bit. And in the case of squares, we say that the Mars is dominating this sun. So, this could be, as Donna alluded to, could be loss of vitality. You may just be feeling drained. Could be aggression coming your way. It could be, see, that Mars is very emotionally driven, and that sun, it doesn't really like aggression in general. This could be just, when you kind of, even if you aren't involved in a fight or anything or a dispute, if you're in a place that is just upsetting to your kind of equilibrium, in that if people around you are fighting or they're just too noisy and rambunctious and it's just not comfortable, that can be, quite unsettling for a lot of people. There's this underlying undercurrent of mm, just nasty kind of feeling. It's just uncomfortable. You know what I mean, don't you?
I do. I do. It's it's irritable. It's
No, no. I mean, like, if you're around people, like, not even if it's nothing to do with you, but just being around people like that are hurrying around and scurrying around, and it's just uncomfortable. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. I need to have a look and see what's happening right now, because my Mercury Pisces is just being beat around. I'm talking like a, I don't know what. I just cannot express myself tonight. But that feeling of unease, and it may not even have anything to do with you. It may be just, yeah. But this could be,
abrasive. What word are you looking for? The word abrasive,
no, I mean,
where it's uncomfortable.
like you're around people that are agitated or all worked up, and they're not angry at you and they're not showing any aggression towards you, but that energy kind of field, it's uncomfortable to be around, because how can you be peaceful when these people are kind of bustling around you, and you can sending off, for want of a better word, bad juju, just kind of like, just, it's hard to relax around that. How are you supposed to chill
Uh-huh.
with
I
people?
get you.
Or, it can even be like, big crowds and that. Like, I hate being in crowds. It's like, get out of my way. I hate being hemmed in by crowds. Just get out of my way.
Yeah, yeah. This might be a good way to mitigate this would be just to plan on doing a project that is has physical activity around it, like sweeping out the garage or sweeping out the basement. Just doing something that's you're not hurt on. Don't see how fast your car is going to go, but that might be a good way to mitigate it. Is plan on doing some action.
And if you can find an emotionally driven reason for doing it, like something, that it needs doing, but it's important to you emotionally in some way, some sort of emotional satisfaction in doing it, even better.
The next aspect, and this will be happening on 14th, so this is Monday. Uh, this next aspect will be Venus will oppose Uranus, and this is asking you to look at your love relationships in a different way, whether it's your love relationships or what you do during your love relationships. And don't go there. I'm talking about like if you always go in a certain roads to a certain place, you might try a different route. Or if you are always in the garage and passing tools back and forth, you might go to a quilting show, or you might just go to a movie instead of a hockey game. So that's what I'm saying by mixing it up in your love relationships. This is or the things that you are doing. And if you are always working with paints, or oil paints or acrylic paints to paint, you might want to try, I don't know, there's a where you put the gems in there and it makes a whole painting so that you can,
The
but
diamond.
just mixing up the mediums, yeah, stones or whatever. You might want to just mix up your art or just change it, but it's asking you to level up. It's asking you to
Mm.
change it up and do something in a different way.
The opposition can be challenging. I think it's really interesting that at the time of the solar eclipse, we had Venus, Mars, and Saturn kind of all in that grand trine. And now we have Venus, Mars, and Neptune, which we're going to address soon. But a little bit of excitement here. So, like Donna said, changing things up, maybe you're drawn to or attracted to people or art forms or beauty, different and not your usual type. I kind of see this. And if you do find somebody, if you're kind of dating or something, might meet somebody at this time that's really exciting, and it could be quite exhilarating. But this is kind of like, I kind of think of more of a holiday fling rather than your long-term commitment. And even if it is something that goes a distance, it may be quite unconventional in some way. You know, it might be a long distance relationship, or it might be, I don't know, maybe you become part of a throuple or something, you know, or, you know, you meet somebody who's asexual and, you know, that's a different type of relationship, you know, just something different to your usual.
And as Lynda was alluding to earlier, Venus will trine Neptune on October 15th. That's a Tuesday. And when this happens, it's when Venus and Neptune get together, you're looking for more sensitivity, you're looking for compassion, you're looking for inclusiveness. And when they have that aspect, it'll be ability for genuine understanding of a subject. So this is a good time for talking. Uh, you might even feel that there is some kind of a spiritual relationship going on.
It's a very valid point. This is the day after the Venus opposition to Uranus. So there's been this exposure to new people, whether that's romantically or socially, just, you know, platonically, or art or whatever. And here is this kind of rose-colored glasses aspect. Could be very dreamy, romantic, idealistic, can be altruistic. It's really, really nice. But with Neptune, it's always, what are you not seeing? This could be, you know, wildly romantic. Honeymoon vibes. Very nice.
Very cool. So this full moon will be happening in Aries. Will be squaring Mars
Which is its rule.
and Pluto at the time. Ooh, is that the bendings?
No,
Not exactly.
no.
Scared me for a minute. I was like, wow, there's a lot of energy there. But yeah, that's because usually the bendings are the release points. But yeah, it's that square that Mars is not helpful.
No, but I
We
mean,
don't have any
Mars is its,
trines or sextiles to it.
yeah, Mars is its ruler, so that is helpful. That the ruler can at least,
Yeah,
even if it is by
hard
by
aspect.
square, by sign. Venus, um, Venus and Mercury and Uranus and Neptune and Saturn can't see this full moon, so that's kind of helpful. It's a shame about Venus, and Jupiter can see it by sextile and Pluto by square. Of course, that Mars, oh my God, Mars is coming up to oppose that Pluto, which will happen in that 2-week period after the full moon. But this will be just a normal full moon. It won't be an eclipse, because you can see the North Node is at 6 degrees Aries there. It's well beyond the, I think it's 12 degrees. They need to be within the nodes for it to be an eclipse. Yes.
It's good to be done with the eclipse season.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And Donna, what
Yep.
services are you offering, and where can people find you?
I am offering natal readings, electional horary, as well as I do energy work. I can now speak about. I have graduated an energy class. I was taking a class at the Four Women's Academy in Chile with Alberto Villaldo, and it is a new way to try to, because I'm all about needing to be in alignment, and I've been doing crystal healing for a while. This is a new kind of energy healing. It blends the old traditions of it's the Kiro from Chile, and it blends the older ways of healing, energetic, with the modern stuff. Dr. Alberto Villaldo is a medical anthropologist. So he brought in the science, which I gravitate to. I need to know, why does it work? So I was attending that course. I finally graduated it. It's the shamanic training with the science behind it. And so that's what I have been working on for these last things, and kind of slacking off on writing up all those articles about the stones. But you can always go back to the stones, the video, and get all the information that you need. But I am also doing that energy work, and I will be getting more information on that other channel that I'm starting. It's only got one video on it right now, but I will be putting out more now that I've got the time, because it was a very intensive class that I was taking. It was a lot of hours every week. And I also, you can see, I wrote, because I was taking a Kepler's class on political elections. So I wrote a little bit on the political elections that are coming up. And I also included in the Open magazine, which anybody can go to for free to download a free copy of it. And it's not out yet. It should be out sometime this week. That's what I'm talking about it this week. You should be able to download it, and it will also include a grid, a crystal grid that I built for our elections and for the United States to do that. So it was also included in the magazine. That's what I heard. That was a scuttlebutt that I heard. I'm not for sure, because it's not in my hand. I don't have it in hard copy. But those two things are new for me. So those are the things that I'm offering. And you can get a hold of me at donnabastrology.com, and you can write to me, donnabarconsulting@gmail.com, and get a hold of me if you are wanting to get an astrology reading, a natal reading, or energy work done. So those are the things. Lynda, what are you doing, and how can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Scallywag Astrology. That's astrology.scallywag.com. I offer natal, relationship, and year ahead readings. And yes, congratulations, Donna. It's very impressive. When you do get the information regarding the OPA magazine, if you send me the link, we'll try and get that in the description of this one. If not, we'll certainly be able to put it in the next one, the next video, which will be the full moon in Aries. So that will be interesting.
Well, I looked for the new magazine to come out this morning. So it's either today or tomorrow. Kate Taylor, I think, is in charge of OPA. And I heard her say it's just a couple of days after the equinox. So we've just finished that. So it should be coming out literally today.
Well, it may
My
well
heart's beating out of my chest. I can hardly wait.
it may well be out before I edit the video. So yeah, get that to me and we'll put that in the links below, because that'll be very interesting. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everyone. Hope eclipse season has been kind to you and it hasn't been too bad. Yeah, that's all we can say. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your likes, your comments, and subscribing. My Mercury, I don't know what's up with it today.
A reading from Lynda. She is really, really good. She told me 2 years I'd be published, and I think I audibly laughed at you when I was like, "Yeah, no way."
Did we record that?
She's very, 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 very false. So book with her. Highly recommend her.
Thank you. Anyway, hope all the eclipses are kind to you. We'll talk to you later. Ciao.